Welcome to the Boomers, Bucks and Bling Podcast, where we turn retirement planning into a bit of a thrill ride. I'm your host, Carl Spiteri, and each week we'll dive into everything from reverse mortgages and staying put in style to Medicare, Social Security, and home safety. But wait, there's more. We're not just going to talk all about money and business. We're going to add some sparkle, some bling, as we chat with travel pros, party planners, and a lot of different topics that's going to help you make the most of your golden years. So grab a cup of tea or whatever it is you want to drink, get comfy, and let's make retirement planning an adventure of a lifetime.
Hey, Joanie, thanks for joining our podcast today. We really appreciate the time you're going to give to us, and we just want to have a conversation with you about baby boomers. I understand that you are maybe approaching the world of retirement, and you might have some insight for some people that we know.
I'm not retiring, just so you know.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I mean, I guess I could. I guess people retire around this time, but no, you don't want me to retire because I have lots of knowledge in my brain because I'm closer to retirement age.
Yes. Well, that's why we thought we'd have you on, so we can kind of go into that brain and to try and pull some wisdom out. You are a realtor with Compass Real Estate, Realty.
Yes.
And you have been one for quite a few years, from what I understand.
I've been a realtor for 22 years.
Okay, 22 years. So you have a little bit of insight maybe on real estate.
I sell more than one house a year.
Well, that's good, probably a good thing too. What are your thoughts? I don't know. Is there anything you want us to start with, or do you want me to just ask you a question or two?
Ask me questions. I want to know what you think people want to know. I know you had said something about boomers consider right-sizing their home in retirement. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, you hear a lot about houses are too big, or there's stairs to get to the bedrooms, or there's this or there's that. So right-sizing, finding something that's right for somebody who's getting older. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I see it both ways. I do see a lot of older people who are getting close to retirement start thinking about those things because, people fall downstairs a lot more. People fall a lot more easily as they get older in age. And
can I interrupt for 1 second? Will you share with our audience what you just told me a few minutes ago? Just raise your hand.
I don't want anybody to know what I just felt. Yes. And then I just work with a client who's 92 years old, living in a house with, oh gosh, how many steps does she have going from the living room up to the bedrooms? And she's amazing. I'd say probably 14 steps up, and she does it 4, 5, 6 times a day. Mm-hmm. And so it's really a matter of what people prefer. But I feel like, you want a smaller place. You don't need a lot of space that you have to take care of. Of course, the stairs are, an issue as well. A lot of older people moving into condominiums. Of course, because you can get, a better price, still live in the same location you want to live in, get something smaller, also something you don't have to maintain. Most complexes, you don't maintain the exteriors. Again, that varies from HOA to HOA. But then also, I feel like in a condo complex, especially if you're a woman living alone, that it is a safer place to live. You've got more neighbors around, more people who are looking out for you. So just lots of different things. As you do get close to retirement, these are different things that I have spoken with different people about.
Right. So do you have say I'm 80 years old and I come to you and say, hey, what do you think? Do you have a checklist you go through, or is it just a conversation that you have with people to try and identify what they're looking for, how you can help?
Yeah, it really comes down to a conversation with them. Do I do a checklist? I don't know. I just feel like that's that just gets people to feel, more stressed out because, there's this checklist and we got to follow this. I sit with them, have the conversation and see things that they worry about or things maybe they hadn't thought of that I bring up that they think, that's a good thought. Maybe I should think of. It's a casual conversation that I have with people, and I start getting a feel from them as to how they're feeling about different things.
So you take your years of experience and kind of you bring up points depending on what you see and hear coming from the seller.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So what's a story you can tell us about how you helped somebody make a choice on their living accommodations that was getting on in years, and
You know about one that happened fairly recently.
Why don't you
that
tell us about it?
You and I solved this problem. We had two guys that were married, living in a great part of town, but of course a place where their properties they've got quite a bit of equity in their property. And one of the partners was really feeling like they didn't have a lot of money to live on, and they could make good money off the house they live in that they owned, and then move out to where, they could buy something cheaper and then have money left over to live on and enjoy more things in life that they would like to do that they're able to do now that they're retired or getting close to retirement. And we discussed that at length. But the problem was one of the partners wanted it and the other one very clearly did not. So, how do you solve that problem? And the way that I did was that I looked at the possibilities for both partners. And you took on one of those possibilities, which was another option to have cash and not have to move, and not have to sell their house for the cash. And we can talk about that in a minute. And then the other option was to show them what they could afford in an area that things are a little bit less expensive. So we went further east. In our area, you can get more for less as you head east. And that's what we did. And with both partners. And I took them out, showed them a ton of properties. And, and they liked some of them, but the one guy just really, I could tell he still really did not want to leave where they were. So that's when I passed them on to you with the idea of the way of financing their property in such a way that they could live there quite comfortably, not have such a payment that they have, and have get the cash out of the house that allowed them to do so many more things. And that was the choice that they ended up picking. And was that to my benefit? No, I didn't sell the house, but that's not how I look at something. I look at it, so what is best for the client? And that's what I did. I presented both sides to both of them so that they could then decide. And you ended up helping them. And what was that? Was it, Carl, was that 2 years ago that happened?
Probably a couple of years ago, yeah.
Well, they just came to an open house recently to me, and they said to me, Joanie, I can't believe you really saved us. And I appreciate it because I know you didn't make a dime off of it, but you did what ended up being truly the right thing for us. And Carl helped us out so much. And we just really appreciate it. And we are so happy. And here we are 2 years later. And, it's not about the money for me. Of course, I have to make a living, but it's about doing the best thing for the client. And I know you feel the same way as well.
Yeah, definitely. So well, that was a good one. So tell us when you walk in to a boomer's home and you start perceiving things, you start looking around, right? Because if somebody's calling you, they're either thinking about buying or thinking about selling, or just calling you because you're a nice person, but I would assume it's one of the two. When you walk into their home, what are things you start looking at saying, well, this might be a challenge, or this might be a challenge? We want to kind of help people that are listening to this on things to watch out for.
Well, it depends on what they want to do. In fact, it's interesting because I just went to a house the other day to give them ideas because they were thinking of putting the house on the market. Then I went to another client's house because they were just thinking of renting the house out. What should they do? Should they do, so you do different things. If you're going to sell it, I recommend certain things. If all you're going to do is rent it out, I recommend you don't spend as much money and you can do some other things, because I own a bunch of rentals as well. Or are you just staying in the house yourself? And are there things we should think about looking at the house that you should maybe do if you're going to stay there?
So let's focus on that for a minute. What would you recommend there? So what are some thoughts there for people staying in the home?
Okay, depends on their age.
Right. So say they're, 70.
Of course, stairs would, as I mentioned earlier, would be one thing. And other things like, again, the size of the house is a big deal, and how safe it's the exterior, where it's located. how well does what's the condition of air conditioning or heating or the things that, as you get older, I don't know how you feel about that, but as you get older, I think you're more sensitive to heating and air conditioning that you need. You're just not as, I didn't even have any air conditioning until I was in my 50s. You can live with a lot more when you're younger, I think. So for an older person, again, depending on what they want to do, if they're staying, I would ask them, what kind of things would you like in this house? Because you're staying here and this is your forever home. So do you want it to have, that really nice crown molding? Do you want air conditioning if they didn't have it? Or do you want about a patio? You've got a great view here, but you've got a really small patio. Do you want to extend your patio? Things that maybe wouldn't get you more money if you were selling it, but makes it a happier place for you to live in.
So the name of this podcast is Boomers, Bucks, and Bling, right? And that would be bling. Crown molding is not a necessity of life, last I've heard.
Right.
So what is it you want out of life? What is it you want out of your housing accommodation? What is it you want, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. What makes you feel good about, and what makes you want to live here for a long time? Oh, I have another example. Just thought of said to me, they wanted to put some high-end appliances in their kitchen. And I go, and that's great if that, because you're a big connoisseur, a big chef person. So, that would make you happy. Will that get you more money if you were to sell? Not necessarily. Yes, you want nice appliances, but they don't have to be high-end chef, loving type of appliances. That's something you would spend money on to make yourself happy, not to add more value to your home. Okay. So that's one example. I don't know. Can you think of others?
Have you ever had a client maybe put an elevator in a home? I understand that's a big deal right now.
Interesting you'd ask that. Yes, I did one time. Yes, and they did not like it at all. I've had it happen twice, actually. The one did it on the inside stairway, and it still made her nervous. She didn't like it. I gave her the pros and cons. She went ahead and did it because it was worth it to stay there to do that. But she never liked it. It made her nervous, and I think it made her kids nervous. And then I had another situation where this was quite not that age of couple, and they owned a house where they had a multi-level backyard with fabulous views. And to get down to the second level was a little bit an elevator would have made it a lot easier for them. And that was such a big deal to them because they spent so many hours outside their house. And it was incredible. In fact, I've never even seen an elevator like this. It was really cool, an exterior elevator. And basically what they did was they extended the use of a small yard. They've extended its use to much bigger. They put a deck in and the elevator down to that. It was really cool. So
one success story and one not so success story.
I guess
really think through it if you're going to put an elevator in, huh?
Yes, definitely.
What about like bathrooms and hallways and things? Do you have any experience with that? Because that's another thing that I think as people age, they kind of need to kind of look into.
Well, you mean as far as upgrading a bathroom or
or what are the pitfalls? I know you work a lot in the metro area of San Diego, which is traditionally older homes and homes built to 50s and 60s specifications, and sometimes those bathrooms have not been remodeled or touched. And as people age, I've been told that it makes it harder to get in and out of bathtubs and things like that. Have you given any guidance to that?
Yeah, there are some that the thing is, until they're at that point of where they have to do it, a lot of people don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we're trying to do is help people think about it, right?
Yeah, but then they're spending a lot of money taking out one type of bathtub and putting in another type, and they may never need to do that.
Okay,
so
good point. Yeah,
that's the tough part. Just I don't think I would have somebody spend more money unless it was something they really loved and really wanted to, until they were sure they absolutely needed to do it.
Okay.
But I know you have another question here. Let's see. How do you help your clients share a story about what they did for a client, talk about the challenges the client is having, how you're able to help them? Because I did take some notes. For listing a house, I just recently went in, and it's for a client who's disabled. And so one of the resources that I do that maybe another agent wouldn't do is, I felt bad for her, and I just feel like she was already stressed out about even having to pack up the house. She's moving to assisted living, and I could tell she was already stressed about even having to make those decisions. I think one of the hardest things people do, it's a very emotional, leaving a house you've been into for a long period of time, and then also getting rid of things that you've had for years that you don't really need, but you've had it for years and you've loved them and they have lots of memories, whatever that may be, even simple things that you can't even think of, not even just pictures, but just other stuff that you've got that you don't need anymore. So what I did was I told her to spend the time in the house packing up what she needed, because I couldn't make that decision for her, what she really needed and what she didn't. Although I have another woman that I can recommend, Rochelle, who's helped people do that. She's actually, in fact, she was amazing with one lady because she was very, very overwhelmed. Her husband had died, and she was so overwhelmed with even making the decision in a huge house, what to take and what not. And Rochelle went and sat with her and really itemized and talked about each thing to keep. And my client said to me, if it wasn't for Rochelle, she thinks she would have gone nuts, because she really, really helped her to organize and make those decisions. But what I told this other client was that if she can handle getting the things that she wants packed up and leave behind what she needs, I will get rid of it for her. I can call a company, I can call people that may want to, take it, Goodwill or whatever. She said to me, she said, Joanie, are you sure you really want to deal with that? And I go, I just know what the process is like for so many people getting out of a house, especially the emotional part and the physical part. And I am happy to help you in any way I can. And in this particular case, it really seemed like the best thing for me to do was to take over after she was able to get out and move to the assisted living place. And I am in the process of that actually right now.
Wow, that's an incredible service that you and Rochelle, I guess, team up on and get this handled for this person. That's incredible. I'd love to have Rochelle on the podcast sometime and get her expertise. But yeah, that's pretty incredible service to provide.
Yeah. Like I said, Rochelle helped out one person. I haven't called her in for this most recent one because I don't think this lady has as many things. And her husband's still alive, so they can make some decisions together.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, husband was gone, and she really couldn't handle making this decision.
Yeah.
And that's what Rochelle was good at. But yeah, in this particular case, I'm letting her decide what to go with. And she said she'll be done in 2 weeks, and then I'm ready to get in there and get everything else out and get it ready for putting on the market. I've even called a guy in to change out all of her appliances because in the kitchen, because most of them don't work. They aren't even working. So I have a guy who has used appliances, but they're nice, because I don't think I'm trying to save her every penny I've got, because her assisted living place is going to cost $7,800 a month to live in.
$7,800 a month for assisted living. Wow, that's an important number.
Yes, it is. And because of that, I'm trying to save her every penny. But you can't sell a house with appliances that don't work. That would make people think, well, what else is wrong then if they're not even keeping their appliances fixed, and what else is wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
But the situation was very different. But anyway, so he's going in there and his appliances look new. They're just not new, but they're priced so much better than having to buy something new. And I think that was really helpful for her. He's in the process of doing it now.
Well, Joanie, I promised not to take too much of your day here, and I really appreciate you coming on after a fall and everything. But last question.
Yeah.
What makes you you? Why are you so awesome and different?
I think probably the first and foremost is that I don't look at the dollar. I I look at doing the best thing for the client. Of course, I have to get paid. Ultimately, I can't just, I'm not going to take a listing and then not make a commission.
Right.
But so many extra things. I think that a lot of agents either don't want to or aren't able to. I can bring into it with my help. We also have a full-time assistant, and he's just great about doing extra things too, that help a client. But in addition to that, I think I just have depending on the person, I'm willing to do a lot more, I think, than the average agent can or wants to do. And I'm also really, really honest with people about, doing the best thing. Well, like I said, I'm trying to save every penny for this one client because I need it so badly. And I don't know if those are the things are so important to me, which is the reason why I think I get the business that I get. I get so many referrals from friends of friends and family that because they do trust me. And that's really, really important to me.
All right. Well, Joanie, I can't thank you enough for being on this podcast. Joanie Selby, the founding partner of the Selby team, Compass Real Estate in the Metro San Diego area. And just thank you again. I can't thank you enough for being on with us today.
I can't thank you enough for doing all the things as a reminder, Carl, the reason I know you is because 15 years ago, I was using certain lenders, and I had one lender who talked to a client that I sent him. And can I brag about you a little bit, Carl, or are you going to be embarrassed?
Nah.
Let me just finish this. You can block it out if you want, but say it. And they had, a young guy who was questionable. And I said, it's crazy. And another agent that I was talking to it that had known you for years, said to me, why is it? I can't believe that lender won't even help the guy. I said, yeah. He says he can't really do anything for him. And he goes, well, I have somebody who can. I bet you anything. Call Carl Spiteri and see what Carl will do. See, he will never give up on anybody. Carl worked with this guy. I don't know. I think it was 12 months, 15 months but what you did was you set up so that they would be in a position sometime in the future to be able to buy something. And because you've been doing this for so long, what it takes to get to that point where you can qualify. And of course, you want the client to be comfortable, so you don't ever pressure them, even if they are qualified, but they're not ready yet. And that was how I met you, because of another agent that said, you don't ever give up on anybody. And guess what? In 15 years, you never have. And
thank you for that. I appreciate it. And
I've told that to a million people.
All right. Well, thank you, Joanie. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Boomers, Bucks and Bling. We hope we've managed to mix a little enlightenment along with fun. If you enjoyed our conversation, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss out. And if you got a moment, drop us a review. It helps spread the word and keeps us motivated to continue. Got burning questions? Hot topics you want us to dive into? Let us know on our website or social media. Until next time, Carl Spiteri here to remind you to tackle retirement with a big smile and a whole lot of energy.
The content of this podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It does not constitute financial, legal, or professional advice. You should not rely solely on the information presented here to make any decisions. We recommend seeking the guidance of a qualified professional for any specific situation. Arc Latex Financial Services, LLC, NMLS number 2143, its hosts and guests cannot be held liable for any losses, damages, or other negative consequences arising from your use of the information presented in this podcast. For license information, visit www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Equal housing opportunity.